page. Let me get this page right. Kuf Tes Zion. We're on page Kuf Tes Zion. Let me get the focus here. Who he says, and for this reason, the fish in the sake and kol chatzila bebechila zachav anok. So now he wants to say that zachav and nekeva, he says, is everything is like that. But even Eric on himself, the sake and ka'ayin zachav and nekeva. The Moshe Ramarno Lamala, as we have said previously, v'kein chachma bebina the sakna shnei partzufi Abba v'Ima nifradim. So therefore, Abba v'Ima are going to be the same pattern, but they're completely different partzufim. V'chein kula is kaim v'dacha v'nuk. Now I don't know if he's saying that the others are the same partzuf, but they have a male and female part. Here they're separate. V'gam kol sharha partzufim matachtonish and the atzlamachem. So therefore, everything else is going to be like that. And this is giving me the image that what you're dealing with is oivi. So that therefore all the partsum are really very similar, but they're just wrapped around each other in some way so that they're getting further and further away from the core. Gam kol shar partsuvim matachtonish and the atzlamachem. So all of these partsuvim that come out of them, shehem partsuvis are anpen benukva. This kaimbach of the nisaktach of geshtei partsufim nivradim. So the way they're made is the two separate, completely partsufim. Shall zachav and nekeva the ilmale high, because if you didn't have that situation, shalocha b'choya Eric anben of Abba v'Ima b'bechina zachav and nekeva, lo miskaimin, they wouldn't be able to sustain them. Lo choya cholad partzufi zer anben v'nukva, because what happens is that they would not be able to sustain themselves. The hiskayim. Because let's listen to this again. Because the two of them also would not be able to be put into position of Zachar Banok. Okay? If he's talking about just the same, that there are two elements of it, one is Zachar, one is Nuk, or in other places the Zohar, not the Zohar, but in Kabbalah, that you see that the Zachar is Zachar Banok too, and so is the female. But that's what he wants to say. He says that the process of Zer Anpin is to sweeten the Nukva. So it's very similar to the yichud that takes place between male and female. But now, but now we see that the model, so it's like the interior, the partsufim of he says the upper world, but the cave, they're all that same way. As so that's the idea, is that the male is to sweeten the female. So therefore you see the same thing of the parts of him, lower parts of that develop out of them, which is, that's what you're really focusing on, of those two. As dini hanukva. So that's really why you need this. I don't know exactly, but he's just saying that the male is a sweetener, and the female is the receptacle, because she's made out of gevuros. Shirusa da. So this beginning, zeh harishon shuhu Abba, shuhu haschala kol shal tikun atzilus. This is the beginning of the formation. Now when he says tikun, and once again, this is the main place where the light becomes more physical and lessened. Av Lakula, he becomes the father of everything. Who Av Lakula, he's the father of everything that we see down below. Av Lakulu Avahan, he's the father of fathers. Who Av Lakol Ha'avos, the Hainu Av Lakol Ha'sfira Shal Zer Anpin Anikroim Avos. Now here's a phrase he's coining here. He says that, of course, we know that the spheres of Zer Anpin, the basic Zer Anpin, are the Avos, because you have the Chagad across the top. He says, Ki Mimenun Mispashat Shlosha Mochim Chachma Bina Das, because from it, then you see his pashtos of the three Mochim, which are Chachma Bina Das. Val Yadam Na'asa Av, so through those Chachma Bina Das, comes into Chesed Gevurah Tiferes, I guess. It goes, it says, Bal Yadim Na'asa Av L'Kol Spheres Zer Anpin, and becomes a father to all the spheres that Zer Anpin, Hanikra Avos, which are also the Avos. The Mavar Seder and explains the order of Iver Valedos of pregnancy, V'leidas zer anpin v'nukva. In other words, the process of giving birth. Is chavran da b'da. What happens is that there's a Hebrew of the two. Kin is chaver Abba ve'ima, they become one, zeh bezecha b'sod ha'zivug, v'nehira da b'da, and they start shining into each other. V'ira Abba ve'ima bezecha bezecha, behind the Abba nasen as tipas hamoche in the ima. So he said, first of all, he says zeh bezeh, they're shining into each other. Now he says that what it is that Abba is putting mochin into ima. Kad is chavra v'cholido, and when they come together, because Shech Nischavru Abba ve'ima, as Abba ve'ima come together, holido zer anpin, so then they give birth to zer anpin. V'is pashtas mechamenusa, v'nis pashta v'chamuna v'nukba hanikba zamuna. So then you see this concept now. So let's look at it again. Is v'is pashtas mechamenusa. V'nis pashta amuna spreads through this yichud. Now the question is, and I had asked this before because he says it a lot. It's a vague word in a certain way. So he says is pashat, so that causes her to spread. Now the amuna is the spread of the shefa of the nukva. He says sheyatzav in this pashtach on the acher mekan, that winds up spreading out from that time. Ba'achrei zer anpin, on the backside of zer anpin. He says that his pashtus is called amuna. So he gave us a definition of that word was a little hard for me. So he said, "But agada the Rabbi Yebesaba." So if we talk about the agada here, let's go over the Sefer Agada shel Rabbi Yebesaba. So back to Rabbi Yebesaba. So he says, one second, I'm trying to get the focus right. So he says, this is what we learned. We learned like this. Shoel, so asked, Mahu Bina. So tell me, what does Bina mean? He said, Bina. So why is she called by that name? He said, and the answers, Elakad is when they come together. So when we join the two of them together, Yud and K. So we understand Abba's Yud, and he's spelling them out to us. Interesting. He said that Abba is Yud and K. Abba ve'ima. So let me see what he says. The hind of Hebrew Osius Yud and K. Shel Shem Havayim. Ki Os Yud he connected Abba for Os K, written like that. He connected Ima. Oz is Avra and is Avra Ima. So when those two come together, the Yud and the K, she becomes impregnated. Ki Yatz Zer Anpin. Excuse me. Because that's where you see that Zer Anpin is coming out, Yisod Abba, V'niknas B'Ima B'Sod the Iver, and goes into Ima. And it is really the secret of gestation. V'achakach Afikas Ben V'Lida. So then after that, she brings out a Ben and she gives birth. Hotzi Ima V'Holida as a Ben, Zer Anpin, she gives birth to Zer Anpin, begin Kach Bina Ikre, and that's the reason why she's called L'Kach Nikras Ima B'Shem Bina. That's how you got the concept Bina, because well, let's look at the word Bina. The Bina is actually, to take all the letters, you have the words Yesh Osias Ben Yak. So basically, it's the son of Abba Ve'ima Shleimusa the Kula. Osius Elo, and so also in these letters, Ramos Shleimus Hakol, everything, its perfection is hinted at. Hein Heber Abba Ve'ima, Hein Eber Veledis Haben. What we're talking about is either the pregnancy or we're talking about the birth. Kiba Osius Yak, because in those two letters, Yud and K, Ishtakalchul Tavaichul the Mischavran. So we see that this V'nimsorim V'nirmazim Abba Ve'ima. So there's a reference here to the Yud and the K, the first two letters. That the both of them come together, make one. Ben, then you also have next to them this word Ben, who's their Anpin Hanolad Mishnehem, which is given birth. That's the Ben. Now you have the Yak and you have the Ben. Klal of the Kuda B'tikun Aihu. So Kol Nichlal B'tikun Ha'ivur. So all of this is incorporated in the gestation and then the birth of the son. Abba ve'ima, through Abba ve'ima, as we have said, ki gam parts of a nukva nechlal gam zer anpin. So also the nukva is part of the parts of a zer anpin. It comes out as a part of it. L'chein gam ki near mezes ba'osius ben. So therefore, since she's part of Zer Anpin, so that she's a remes to her is in the letters ben. Ben shall Zer Anpin, which referring to Zer Anpin. Ishtakach. So from the ma'ata chanimsa shebamilas bina. So now we find. Let's look at the word bina again. Shleimus the kula. Everything is in perfected. Nechlala b'shleimus. All of it in their total completion. Kal purtze partsufi alatzilos shehem av ve'em ben uba. So then you see that this concept of the entire tzilus could be boiled down to av ve'em, mother and father, and son and daughter. So he said, Milan Elon Sodas Elo Shigilino Ata Shabapartsufi Abba Ve'ima Moleda Mezer Anpin. So that concept of giving birth. Lo is Yavoho Lugaloho Babara the Kadisha Al Yainim. Only the upper world. Let's see what he means by the Kadisha Al Yainim. Lo Nitna Rishos the Galoisim. There is no permission to reveal these things. Rak the Kadoshim Al Yonim, only to the upper Kadoshim. The Allah the Fanko Shaniknasucha Belibad Chachmas Yisod that entered into the concept of the Limud the Chachmas Yisod. The Yatzib B'mena B'lecha B'temichos a Pikpukim. Now let's Pakpukim. So let's look and see what he says. He says that Lo Yishavo the goal, only this can be revealed to Allah but no Fanko Shaniknasucha Belibad Chachmas Yisod, that someone who wants to learn this. So he doesn't come out, and he has all different kinds of kashas, and he can't analyze it because he tries, I would say, to use the techniques of the Talmud to try to understand Sod. You can't get it. And as a result of that, he knows the paths. Very interesting, the pathways of the Kodesh Baruch Hu. He knows those paths. And he said, believe in chachmas hasod. That is, he knows the paths that Hashem brings us through the chachmas hasod. Lo asatah b'kul yamida v'smol. Vein anointed bechem the yam into the small. Don't get off the path. Sheim miskashim. So let's say you have something you don't understand. Sheim niskasim b'chavon k'zaliba yodim hein liyashav v'l'taras. So they know to answer like this. V'im einim yodim l'taras. And in other words, they know how to answer. And let's say they don't know. The problem that they see with the lack is b'miyud hazagasim in the limitations of their ability to be able to understand it. And they don't start arguing that there's something wrong with the chachma hasod. Because they know that's where you find the real. You really want to know how Hashem, what Hashem's doing in the world. It's in this concept. Yesharim, they're correct and they're straight. In other words, it's laid out before you in the proper manner. Whether you understand it or not, that's a whole other story. Because everything he does, Hashem is straight. It's not multiple meanings, other than what it's supposed to be, its path. But tzaddikim yelchu bam, and tzaddikim can walk around in them, it can pass through them. The man, the zake, the min, the orchoy. So ashrei chelko, happens the person, the happy is the portion of that person. Shel misha zachal the das dark Hashem, the person should really be able to know the path of Hashem. Excuse me, when the person is learning so the way he's supposed to, below sante, below nata bechem, and he doesn't stray off the path, below yite behu, and he doesn't become confused or make mistakes in the sod. The milin elin ki elo hasodos that we're talking about shall partsufi abba ve'ima stimi nilan. They're closed up. In other words, until this moment, as Rebbe Shimon is speaking, until the moment that I'm starting to talk to you, that nobody really understood because it was closed up what was going on with Abba Ve'ima. V'kedisha al yonim nehira b'hu. V'avi l'kedoshim al yonim koyim me'irim u'ma'asigim b'chem rak ha'ara mu'atis. Now, I'm not sure what this means. So let's see what he says. He said the kedisha al yonim. So first thing is, what does he mean by kedisha al yonim? As he says, they shine into it. They shine, and they reach bechem rak ha'ara mu'atis. But only, he says, a small amount of light. There's a limitation of light that comes over here. I'm not sure what he meant by Kedisha al Yanim, so it must mean the upper partsufim. Which one? Command the nachan b'dehila de butzina. Kamisha Meir Lo Or Haner Shuhukat. It's like a person who has a candle and makes some light. But it's not a great shining like a spotlight. Kamisha Meir Lo Or Hashem is like a person who has the sun shining him, or a vuk, or a big torch. Shehem Or Gedoyla. Ki gam the kedusha al yainim, because when we see this word that where he's using this word kedusha al yainim, lo choyach hasodesh al partzufi Abba ve'ima b'v'arnim be'er hetev ad ata be'idra zuta. So what's he mean? Let's just go over these words again. He means to say that the upper partzufi, which are what? He's talking about Eric Anpin and Atik Yamin and going, into Adam Kadmon. What does he say? They don't, it's not revealed. Everything is closed up. It's a big light. So in order to be able to see these, they had to be minimized in some way. Over there, there's nothing specific about them. I think I want to use the word explicit. Not specifically stated. So up until this point now is where either the upper worlds are seeing the clarification of what's going to come out. Lo yisma Elin. Shal partzufi Abba ve'ima shehis galo atara be'idra zuta. None of that was shown because now it's coming now. It's not shown. Ella laman the Allah v'nafik. Only a person that can do this is a person, only a person that's really already been learning Chachmas Esod. He comes out and he doesn't have all kinds of questions, and he's not arguing about the pshat in what he thinks is going on here. The man de lo uncle v'nafek tavle de lo ibri. So a person comes in and he doesn't have shilas, he doesn't have kashas, he's not being mepakpek in the limit. Tov choya lo shelo nivra. It's better the person never was created. Because the person can come to denying everything and saying it's no good. The whole gal yekame antika kadisha steam is called steaming. Let's go back to Eric Anpin, which is much more closed than anything else, unfindable. The Milan Elon shows Sodos Elu Shal Partsi Abba Baima that we see here the Ata that's being shown, the Harnan Beliboy, Hey Meirin Ubarurim Belibi. He says what we're saying, they're shining and they're becoming more sharp or more refined. They'll just say they're shining and refined. Belibi into my heart. So how are they refined? Because of the tremendous love that he has and the perfection of his devotion to Hashem. So these let's see what he says. Let me see. So my children, what I'm saying here, which are the chaverim that surround him at this time. He considers them like their children, his own children. All of the faku. Makir ani b'chem, I can recognize in them because they have been in the Chachmas Esod before. So this is what he says. He says this is the thing is that if you're learning, then it's coming into you. You may be missing some of it, that's possible. But at the same time, you're not arguing about it. You're not saying that Rebbe Shimon doesn't know what he's talking. So therefore, to them, that is to my chaverim, I'm able to be megalo these secrets. And so therefore it's shining on these words. So then they understand it properly. But now, until this moment, the moment that he's talking right now, not right now, about until now, the Idra Zuta, where we brought to this the Idra right here. Lo yadach b'sodas ha'elach b'shach partzufi Abba ve'ima, that they did not know until this moment, and what we're listening to it. Abba ve'ima muv'arach be'erheit. They never heard them explained well. Bahashta is the hira b'shlei musa come the isra, but now they're in order and they're perfected. V'hatahei me'irin v'yoda b'sodas ha'elach b'shleimus. He's talking about the chaverim now, that they actually know these things b'shleimus kamosha tzaros. The chol cholaking im b'chom b'achu, almost so happy is my portion, the portion over there in that world. Ashrei chelki imachem ba'olam haba. Now we have a few more minutes still. Okay. So now we're going to go into this thing called his kalulus partsufim biyud. Whoa. Kol ma de gemeinde de Atika Kadisha, Kol ma shachamarti l'malach Atika Kadisha, kolu kama partsufim. Will be said that Atika Kadisha, that's Eric Anpen, has many partsufim within him. Shehem partsufi Abba ve'ima concluded b'mazel Eric Anpen, which we said before that those two are part of the 613. I'm still like an explanation of that. Partsufi Abba ve'ima concluded b'mazel Eric Anpen, which are included in this mazel. We call ma the Rabbeinu the Zer Anpen, and everything that I've said about Zer Anpen, we call ma shachamarti b'Zer Anpen. Kolo imo partsufi anukva. Also remember that there's always a parts of a nuk that's included with Zer Anpen. Hine kol eilacha partsufim kulachat. But all about kol nechshav the parts of echa, but the whole system there is considered as one parts of. Ki kulam kaluliv v'chachuziv parts of Eric Anpen, because all of them are incorporated, are already inside of Eric Anpen, and we know that they wrap Eric Anpen. Eric Anpen is lavish b'soch kulam, and he is inside of all of them. So you have two different things, and so I'm just pointing out is that you have one thing that's that they're originally inside of Zer Anpen, but also at the same time Zer Anpen is inside of them. Because v'av sha'ana mazkirin the called parts of Sham v'kinoi Hashem v'kinoi Acher, so each one of them is a different name. Because those kuluhu chad mila, but they're all really talking about one thing. Hakolhu daver echad umachus achas. So this is a one reality. Ki b'chatzilus a kol alokus gamma, because in Itzilus that's a different, not so easy either. Everything is 100% godly. V'chakol achdus achas, and that what that means translates it into achdus, oneness. And there is no concept of there's no reference in them at all to the concept of separation. Aduk, but all is clinging together. Just like you had the same concept as the flame that's coming off of the coal. So the coal and the flame are one. Brich shmei. So happy is he. Happy is his name. La'olam ulame olamim. Baruch hu ubaruch shemo olam olamim. Ta'chazi. That's it. That's it. A little bit more. Nope. That's it. That is it. He be gone. Okay.